story we have today in today's Gospel starts off, really, before the Gospel begins. And that is when Jesus has been up the mountain of Transfiguration and he starts coming down, and 3 of the apostles have seen him transfigured in a great blinding light. We shall be celebrating this feast on Friday. Actually, here we'll be celebrating it on Thursday evening at 7 o'clock, the Divine Liturgy. But when they come down, they find there is a man at the bottom there whose child is ill. He has epilepsy. And he's come already to the disciples and asked them what they can do about it, and they presumably have prayed and said various things, and nothing has happened. And the Lord, instead of saying, oh well, what do you expect, these things are very difficult, he says, how long do I have to endure you lot? He's angry about it, fed up with it. How long do I have to endure you? If you had faith as tiny as a mustard seed, you'd be able to do this. If you take a mustard seed, mustard and cress or something like that, you know how tiny a mustard seed is. It's about 1 millimeter across. A very tiny seed indeed. If you have even the tiniest amount of faith, you could do it. In fact, he said, if you had faith the size of a mustard seed, you could say to the mountain, move from here to there, and off it would rumble. There's that famous story about St. Isaac the Syrian, who was explaining to somebody about this. And he said, yes, you might say to this mountain, move from here to there, and suddenly the mountain started to move. He said, stop! I didn't tell you to move, I was just talking about it. So such was the faith of St. Isaac the Syrian. And Jesus said these people are healed also through prayer and through fasting. So faith, prayer, fasting. Those 3 things together. And with that, you can move a mountain. Well, Lincolnshire isn't full of mountains, but our lives are. Our lives are full of all sorts of mountains. Our lives are full of mountains of anger, mountains of greed, mountains of sin, mountains of annoyance, mountains of jealousy, mountains of irritation, mountains of anxiety, mountains of family problems, and so on. And it is through faith and through prayer and through fasting that we remove those mountains. They might seem to be completely unsurmountable. You say to yourself, I know about this sin that I have. I've tried and tried and tried and nothing's happened about it. Well, have faith. Fast. Pray. Say to the Lord, I want this removed. And you'll be given the strength to do so. Usually. St. Paul talked about a thorn in his flesh. In his case, whatever it was that was causing him this inner pain, this thorn in his flesh, was left in him because God wanted him to know that God was going to be strong in Paul's weakness. But usually, if we are praying, if we are fasting, and if we have faith, then God will answer our prayers and overcome these sorts of very important problems. Yesterday, I think it was, yesterday morning, somebody said to me, oh Father, all this business about God would be very easily solved. All you would need to do, talking to me, all you would need to do is say to this computer, turn into gold, and if it turned into gold, then I'd believe that indeed God existed. And I said to him, if I was able to turn that computer into gold, then you would know that I was not of God. Because when you are asking for things, these are things that are for your spiritual and soul benefit. They are things for other people's well-being. Those are the mountains that you are to cast down and get rumbling off into the distance. So when you say to the computer, turn into gold, it should not turn into gold. Because gradually you'll chip bits off and go and spend it and live like a king. That is not good for you or for your soul. So what we are after, though, is the strength, the faith, in order to be able to move all sorts of mountains within ourselves. Those things I said, and also to remove other people's problems and meet their needs. Amen.